Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we'll be taking a look at the issue 1 vote in Ohio that is happening today. That's right, it's Tuesday, August 8th, and tonight we'll be getting results from the state of Ohio, and they'll be voting on a very important issue, or constitutional amendment rather, that will likely have impacts further down the line if it were to pass. So we're going to talk about this and I'll make my prediction at the end. So obviously, the tricky thing with constitutional amendments is that they are not they're not associated with a certain political party, even though they are often politicized, and often voters of one party will prefer it while the other party won't, but they are not inherently political. And the second thing is that when you read the name of this is just Ohio Issue 1. You can't really tell what it's, advocating for when you read it. So that leaves a lot of room for both sides, whether you're team yes, pass this measure, or team no, do not vote for this measure. That leaves a lot of room for both sides to really try to define the campaign. So I am not allowed to show you the ad I'm about to refer to because I would get demonetized by YouTube. But it's an ad that features a sex scene, and it's a couple in a bed, and obviously they're trying to the man is trying to apply protection, and it's the weirdest ad I've ever seen, because a politician appears and he takes the necessary equipment, I'll say, that would be required for protection, and says, you can't use this. I'm your local Republican congressman and you can't use this. And that is completely different from what the amendment's about. This is not an amendment that would ban the tool I'm referring to. This is an amendment that would the only thing it would do is raise the required threshold to change the Constitution in future amendments to 60%. Right now in Ohio, it's a simple majority, just 50% plus one vote. They would change that to 60% if issue 1 were to pass. Now, obviously, that does not have anything to do with the ad, but that's an example of how campaigns will take an issue that is not clearly defined in its name and then come at it from a completely different angle. Now, obviously, normal people don't usually like politicians from either party, not Republicans or Democrats, taking them or preventing them from conducting themselves in the manner they would like in the bedroom. That absolutely no one wants that. But again, that's an issue. That's an example, I guess you could say, of smart marketing. And so this article references that advertisement. Here we go. It's this ad right here. If you want to watch it, you can obviously look it up. Just look up Ohio Issue 1 ad. It's one of the first that'll come up. But that's an example of how the campaigns will really, really try to go at it from a different angle. And so if the no side is successful, I think part of it will be this ad, because if enough people think that this amendment is somehow going to cause that scene to happen, they're obviously not going to vote yes. So that is, like I said, it's really important for campaigns to control the message. This is a really good example of a message that is really, really being hammered in throughout Ohio. So that is the first thing I think is important to talk about when you look at these races. Now, the second thing is that, again, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, there are not necessarily inherent political coalitions for amendments, right? Like, for example, South Dakota and Oklahoma, I believe, both expanded Medicaid access. Montana passed a law that codified abortion rights in the state. And those are all traditionally Republican states that are very conservative at almost every level of government. But they will often pass ballot measures or amendments or propositions that are more liberal or progressive by nature. So this ballot measure, I would say, is conservative but not necessarily Republican. Obviously, a lot of Republicans are endorsing it, and most Democrats are uniting to endorse against it. But raising the threshold to 60% is not it's not inherently a Republican idea. So that is why I think we could see some interesting, votes here. I think we could see maybe some Democrats who, for whatever reason, want the, threshold raised to 60%. Maybe they'll vote for it, even if they're solidly Democratic voters. Maybe some Republicans who really don't like this idea are going to vote against it. So it's hard to make predictions for these things. But we do have polling. We do have history. So as you can see here, this is a really interesting chart. Proposals like Ohio's Issue 1 do not have a good track record. If you go back to recent amendments that are in states, whether it be Arkansas, Arizona, South Dakota, twice actually, we saw amendments that wanted to raise the threshold, this one to 55, this one to 60, and they've all been defeated. The only one that was successfully passed was in 2022 in Arizona, but in South Dakota it was defeated handily, and in it happened both times, and then in Arkansas, which is a very Republican state, it was defeated handily too. So again, these amendments they're 1 for 4 in this chart since 2018, and that's not really a good sign. Another I guess you could say concerning sign is that down here, as you can see, they talk about the polling. 35% of Ohioans on average support the threshold, and 45% oppose it. Now, again, that's a lot of undecided voters. That there's definitely room for the yes side, for the people that are in favor of this, to catch up on. But that being said, when you're down 35 to 45 in the final weeks of the campaign, that's never really a good sign. And again, undecided voters, there's no evidence they're going to break super strongly in favor of this. So, that's not really a good sign. I would say the saving grace that the yes side has is that the most recent poll did show them gaining. They were down really by a pretty big margin early on, and they have since caught up. The most recent poll from I think 4 days ago had them only down 43% to 41%. But again, amendment polling isn't great, and just in general, I would say recently amendments backed by Democrats or liberal or progressive groups have done pretty well. Like the best example of this was the abortion referendums. Last August we had one in Kansas. It was around this time of year in 2022, and most people had it a dead heat. I wrote an article about it. I predicted it to pass by 4%, or to I believe eventually get rejected. I don't remember if it was to enshrine rights or to make it easier for them to be removed. But I remember I predicted the pro-choice side would win by 4. The pro-choice side won by like 17. So Democrats and progressive groups have been having a really good time with amendments recently, and I'm going to say that that's not going to change, at least today. So this is my prediction for the county map of the referendum. I'll just go through this quickly. County maps are obviously not representative of the actual population because there are obviously more yes counties than no counties, but more people live in the no counties, as I'm sure most of you are aware. So again, you can identify this pretty easily. Cincinnati, Columbus, Cleveland, that's Toledo, as well as Akron, all very strongly against this. This is a college town. That's, I believe, Ohio University in Athens County. And then we have some more. We have these working class areas up here that have been trending Republican recently, but I don't think that they are really going to be in favor of this amendment. This up here is Delaware County. This is the suburbs of Columbus, very left trending. Biden could win this county in 2024. Sherrod Brown, I think, is favored to win it. So that's an area where Democrats have been doing well as of late in Ohio, despite the other unfavorable trends. And then up here, Mahoning Valley, very right trending area. The state has been getting really good for Republicans in the past 6 to 8 years, but I do think that Mahoning and Trumbull counties will narrowly vote against this amendment. So I'm going to say it's about a 55 to 45% margin in favor of the no side. So Ohio will vote to reject the 60% threshold, but that is my prediction. It's obviously hard to predict these amendments, so I could very well be wrong. If you live in Ohio, be sure to go out and vote no matter which way, which side you support, and let me know what you think in the comments down below. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.